Hey there. So it's a special treat this week. Instead of my usual guests, I have a good friend, Cameron Scott, on. He'll be talking with me about the Netflix movie Army of the Dead by Zach Snyder. Cameron is a filmmaker and a writer and been a friend of mine for about 10 years. And so I'm very glad to have him on, talk about this subject, talk about movies. And definitely he'll be coming back because I really enjoyed the conversation. So check us out. Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. It's about connections. I'm your host, Dr. Ritch Hall, and this is a weekly conversation about whatever and however I see to connect things. For people who want to connect, chat, and learn a thing or two about a thing or two. Without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome to the Hallspace Podcast. I'm your host, Ritch Hall, and I am here with a special friend of mine. Can you tell the people who you are?
My name is Cameron Scott. I'm married to one of your good friends and former psychology associate, the lovely Patty Scott.
Yes. And Cameron,
my much better half.
Yes. I love you both equally. I love you a little more, but don't tell her that. I tell her the same thing. And Cameron is special because he makes movies. And I got a chance to be in one of his movies as a zombie. And so for what we're talking about today, I thought it'd be great to talk with Cameron about the movie Army of the Dead. So zombies is kind of my jam. I totally forgot until you mentioned it until now. That's right. Yeah, you cameo as a zombie. Right. For you, it was just another movie shoot. For me, it was like the time I got to be a zombie in a movie. So I'm going to remember it forever.
It was like my third or fourth zombie movie.
Yeah. And I got to be covered in blood, and I got to scratch on a window and get hit in the head with a hammer.
Right. And not a real hammer. Not a real hammer, though.
No, it was not a real hammer. It was a foam hammer, but she really went at it. So I took one to the head with that foam hammer. Right.
Yeah, Athena, she gave you one hell of a couple of wallops.
Right. And I went down like a good zombie should when you get hit in the head. Right. And so we're here to talk about Zach Snyder's Army of the Dead, a film that is available to you on Netflix and has been out for a couple weeks, debuted on May 21st, but due to scheduling issues, we're just not getting around to talking about it. First off, how do you feel about Mr. Zach Snyder? I've been very critical of him as a director, depending on what film he's doing.
He's hit or miss for me. I do enjoy his work. I like him in general. I like him.
Yeah.
A few of his movies. I think the ultimate cut of Watchmen is probably his best film.
Yes, I will agree with you there. Yeah.
But, my first introduction to him, of course, was his remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
So I went into that movie wanting to hate him because how dare you remake George A. fucking Romero.
Right.
Pardon me. Not sure you can curse here.
You are free to curse on the Hallspace Podcast.
Sorry. I should ask first. But yeah. No. But how dare you, remake George Romero? But he did a good job. I really liked it. It brought something a little new. And, it was one of the first movies where I could say I liked fast zombies.
Yes.
I'm more of a traditional shambler.
Oh, zombie. Yes.
But yeah, I like him in general. I mean, I like 300. I really did not like Sucker Punch very much.
Sucker Punch was hard to get into. I will agree.
It was this very kind of misaligned, but in general, I like him. He's got a certain pizzazz and style that lends well to like the DC stuff. I was really happy when Zach Snyder's, Snyder cut of
the Snyder cut. Yes.
I like that. The 4-hour magnum opus that it was.
Yes, I understood it as definitely the entire time. I was like, this is definitely his vision. I definitely thought it was a little overwrought and have spent some time on this very podcast eviscerating it for the problems I had with it. But also definitely beautiful. And beautiful. I've come to understand that he and I are just ideologically different people, in the same way that Michael Bay and I may have some differences in worldview. And so I've learned to appreciate his art for his vision, even if I don't agree, because there's often a lot of beauty in it that can be taken from what he's doing, even if we have different perspectives, I think.
That being said, I have to agree with you 100% on that sentiment.
Yeah, I feel like he's a little bit of a nihilist in a way that I'm not. And you can tell by the ending of this movie, by the ending of Night of the Dead, like his movies tend to have a bent of, life's a little hopeless sometimes.
That's what I like about him.
Yeah.
Quite honest. But people say I thrive on things that are bleak, and that's just my nature. I like it. Yeah, and I will at least argue this point any day. His version of Justice League was, no pun intended, leagues and bounds better than the theatrical cut.
On that, we can agree to some degree. Within the bounds of his vision, more of it worked than the other version. But I do appreciate some. It's a weird that whole thing is like a weird. We could spend another hour talking about it. But my relationship with Superman is so sacred to me that Zach and I do not agree on what Superman is, and so I'll give him his vision. And it was funny.
That's me on Batman. I have a sacred relationship with Batman, and it's just
he does
Affleck is not it.
See, I tolerate Ben Affleck as Batman. I don't tolerate a Batman who's just breaking necks left and right, or who tells the Joker, "I'm going to fuck you up," and it's like, whoa, Batman, what's with the language?
Yo, that doesn't flow here.
Right. Batman doesn't drop the F-bomb. I understand you want to see that, but why do you want to see that? These are children's toys. Sir, you are selling children's toys. He should not be bleeped. Batman, least of all. So my issues with Zack Snyder are ideological, but I could see the art for what it was, and I definitely appreciate it for what it is. And so I try to give him the benefit of that doubt every time. And for the most part, it works for the two of us. It's not like he's losing any sleep knowing that I have issues with him. He's having a great time.
He's counting his money.
He's counting checks. Definitely those Netflix checks, because those Netflix checks are pretty steep from what I hear. They don't bounce. Right. And he was given a lot of carte blanche just to make whatever movie he wanted here with Army of the Dead. He was his own DP, so he got more than one check. And it seemed like he was having he's definitely having a good time. He has a good time on the screen. You can tell he has these really big moments that are fun for him. He's often got great set pieces. And so for that, once again, I respect that craft. It's hard not to see that and respect it when he comes to play. So for that,
he brings his A game.
Absolutely. Sure. And much like some other directors, I definitely will liken him to Michael Bay. What's the director? Who's the director of Moonrise Kingdom? And is that Paul Thomas Anderson or no?
Yeah.
Is that Paul Thomas Anderson? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain aesthetics and styles that comes with every director, and you're either gonna like them or you're not. It's just kind of like my problems with the Justice League is with Joss Whedon's version. Notwithstanding his personal issues and whatnot, but just as a style as a director, it's just it's a little too cutesy for my taste. I kind of I like the the more bleak tones, the darker tones. I'm more like a Ridley Scott kind of guy.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I have issues with darker tones in Superman movies because he's a very colorful character. Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like there were some what we call studio mandates that made the Justice League what it is. Wes Anderson is what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Wes because Wes Anderson is a very meticulous director, like his vision is on the screen. And so I feel that Snyder is similar, like he's curating an experience. And so he's putting as much effort as he can to curate a visual experience. There's it seems like very little is left to chance. He's building a whole look inside of his mind when he does his films. And like I said, because he and I seem to disagree on some ideological things, I often leave with a certain taste in my mouth that's like, that was fun, but did you have to make that point in particular? But I also get what he's doing, so I can sit in there and feel just it's getting on a roller coaster basically when you're watching one of his movies. And by the end, you're like, oh, that was thrilling. I don't know that I fully agreed with the point the movie was making, but thrilling nonetheless. So with Army of the Dead, I walked away with a similar sentiment. Like, oh, that was a thrilling ride. Like, when it gets to that third act, then it's like the clock has run out, the atom bomb is going to drop, and, bad things are going to happen if we don't save the day. I was like, okay, let's do it. I'm strapped in. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and then we're doing all spoilers here, right?
Well, yes. Oh my God, spoilers top to bottom.
The fact that pretty much everybody dies at the end.
Yeah. Well,
I don't most of the time necessarily, shy away from that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me, but in this case, it bothered me because they actually did create complex characters.
Yes.
They carried characters that, for the most part, I actually cared about a little bit.
Yeah.
Most of the time in a movie like this, in a zombie film, the characters are just fodder. They're just a human buffet for this.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be somewhat unlikable, right? Like if you go back to the George Romero world of zombies, you're supposed to want them to die to some degree, right? Like they've done something horrible. Even Night of the Dead had that sense of these are people that aren't good people. They're complex. They do bad things. And if they happen to die because these zombies get them, there's a part of us that feels a certain glee to watching them get eaten. In the typical horror movie trope as a child of the 70s in horror, when Jason's killing people, it's because they're bad people, right? They're teenagers. So
they're doing stupid things.
Right. There's a moral imperative that these people must die. And I don't know that he painted that same picture in Army of the Dead. I felt like a little bit he made them complex, but not unlikable. It was very much, and maybe because he was following the aliens trope a little hard. That was the part that left. That's why I made the Ridley Scott reference, because there's a lot of overtones and different things lifted from Aliens. That's kind of what left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth with this movie. It felt like it lifted very heavily. Oh, absolutely.
Certain angles, certain scenes, certain characters straight up. I mean, that just reeked of Aliens. Well, James Cameron's Aliens, the sequel, and down to the end with Tig Notaro.
Yeah, running off.
Character, running off and comes back up to the roof. I practically, Bishop, damn you! Wait, Bishop, wrong character. Right.
No, it definitely does that, where it feels like it's aping better movies in a way that just doesn't quite feel. It doesn't feel homage-y. It doesn't feel like reverent. It's just, are you just cribbing things from a better movie and using it against the audience? Because it wasn't like he did anything new with these things. He just did the exact same thing.
Right. Like, did you catch it in the opening with the two guys that were driving the Humvee? Mm-hmm. When they drop their payload and they get into the accident with the married couple experimenting, having some road pleasures.
Yes.
Like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, bad things gonna happen. Bad things are just gonna happen. But when they're running off, it's almost shot like scene for scene, shot for shot for the attack scene in the American Werewolf in London.
Yes. Yeah.
When he goes to help up his friend, the zombie runs through the frame, tackles him down the ground, just like the werewolf got his buddy in American Werewolf in London. I'm like, is that like a little too on the nose? A little too on the nose. And not, you can homage, Quentin Tarantino, my buddy Terry, friend of the show, is often quick to say that Tarantino is in some ways an artistic hack, in that he uses shots, but he uses them in creative and clever ways. In many ways, this movie just seemed like it was just using the shot, and it is what it is. We're going to shoot it scene for scene. And if you know what we're pulling it from, you'll know, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't elevate it in any way. No, unfortunately. No. I did kind of like the kind of geeky reference to the Staff of Ra, when they're talking in the beginning, when they're driving the Humvee, where they're talking about what might be in the payload. I'm like, Staff of Ra. I'm like, okay, I like a good Indiana Jones.
Right. How could you not? Yeah. And they're driving away from Area 51. And I did not catch until I watched it a second time or watched a review of it There's some UFOs in that scene as they're driving off from Area 51. There, 2 lights in the sky that shoot off in another direction. That, you know, is just a weird sort of, why did that just happen? This movie, let's stop for a second and say, this movie is full of little, why did that just happen moments.
Oh, I have 2 of them that I got marked with asterisks here that I want to talk about.
Is it robot zombies?
Well, one wasn't robot zombies because I wanted to narrow it down to 2, but one was the mud zombies, the zombies when they first get into Vegas and they're like, oh, when it rains, they kind of come back alive for a little while. I'm like, yeah. And why? And why, if we talked about that, I'm like, I was waiting the next hour and 45 minutes.
You were waiting for rain, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for fucking rain. And I'm just like, it never happened. I felt cheated. I'm like,
you were cheated. You were cheated. Don't put that in the story unless it's going to happen. Yeah.
Right. And the other one, the time loop theory.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Now, I don't know how deep you want to get into
Let's go ahead and do it. Let's first, I feel like it's good to set up the characters, and then we can get into the time loop theory because this makes sense. So Dave Bautista is in it, along with Ellie Purdell, Omari Hardwick, Anna De La Ruggiera, and they play Scott Ward, Kate Ward, Vandero, Maria Cruz, and Theo Rossi is Burt Cummings. Theo Rossi's is he from Power or he's from Sons of Anarchy? Yes. Dave Bautista is the sort of the head guy. This is a zombie movie meets a heist movie. So it's, you know, Night of the Living Dead meets Ocean's 11. If you're pitching it to a producer or to a bigwig. And that's your elevator speech right there. Right. And they're breaking into Las Vegas, which has been walled off in order to steal some money from a vault. That's what they think their mission is, but there's going to be a twist or 2.
Yeah, there's a MacGuffin.
Yes, or 3. And it's a very loaded movie. They're a bunch of like badass soldiers who themselves broke out of Las Vegas when it got turned zombified, and now they have to go back in for one last mission, and it's worth all the money. And I think it's like what, $200 million that they're supposed to get out as like 7 people walking into Las Vegas. They're gonna get that $7 million. Yeah,
I read in a bit of trivia that it's about 1.5 tons.
Right. Right.
Or at least 1,500 pounds or 1.5 tons, one of the 2. How they're not going to fit all that on
a single helicopter. Yes.
With everybody.
Yes. With everyone involved. Yes. And so they pick up a YouTuber who's also good at shooting zombies, who decides he's bringing his friends along. At some point, Dave Bautista's daughter says she just has to go in, which we all know, like, this is a horrible idea. She's shown absolutely no training whatsoever when it comes to zombie killing. She's just a person who's interested. Supposedly one of her friends went in there and is more than likely dead because zombie infested walled off city. But she's got to go in there and save this person. Because even though she told this lady who was trapped in there, she was going to watch this lady's kids, she's going to now sacrifice herself by going in to save her if possible. And abandon the children. She's essentially
and leave the children. Yeah,
right. Which, from a character motivation standpoint, doesn't work as much as you think it does, because it does mean sacrificing the thing you say is most important to her. If she's really about these kids, then she's going to say, "You better," to her dad, "You better go in there and find this lady, or else." Versus, "I'm going to go in there and help you."
It's the obligatory, I'm not going to listen to you, Father. You're going to do as I say.
Right.
It's another movie trope.
Right. Which doesn't make sense in the circumstance, but whatever. I love that all the women in zombie movies have to have their arms out. Like you can't get bit by a thing.
Most of the characters in this movie, period,
have their arms out. Right. Like we're not fighting zombies that bite you with their teeth, and that's how you become a zombie. It's fascinating that that these are all tactical geniuses.
They would have armor or chainmail or at least some leather or something long sleeved, something, a flak jacket.
Something that's at least slows the zombie down from getting to my bare arms. And they all get bit. Everybody gets bit. It's bit on the arms, bit on the, like in the exposed areas, because they have to be exposed throughout the film. So So yes,
I got issues with that in every zombie movie, my man. I tell you,
and I understand you got to make your character sexy. You don't want him to look too bulky, but I mean, come on. If the zombie king guy is smart enough to know that by putting a metal plate on his most valuable asset, his brain, I think the human should also be just as smart. Like they're wearing bulletproof vests, even though the only people that would be shooting at them is their fellow man. Also remember to wear long sleeves. Just at least slow down some teeth a little bit. Doesn't have to be heavy. Just something to stop them.
Right.
So yeah, they all run into Las Vegas. They have a coyote, a person who can guide them in there, who knows the zombies have a pecking order. And some of that world building is interesting. The idea that, the guy who turned everybody into zombies, if he bites you, then you become a smarter version of zombies who's a lot faster and more capable than if you get bit by your run-of-the-mill, lower tier zombie.
Well, nobody wants to be bitten by a seventh generation zombie.
God, no. You don't want to be that guy because now you're just one of the dumb zombies who's wandering around. And I was a little worried when I was seeing the previews, like, oh, wait, all these zombies seem too smart, but are we going to have the shamblers? And they do. They just, they're just not the prime zombie.
No. But then we have the whole sequence in the middle with the slower zombies where I call it the Silent Hill sequence where they're all in hibernation.
Oh, yeah.
Silent Hill where they're kind of like
crawling through.
Crawling through, throwing on the little glow sticks and shine the lights in their faces. I'm like, this seems very Silent Hill-ish to me.
Right. We've all done this. Anybody who's played that game. And I thought that was, once again, innovative. If you're going to crib from something cool. The idea that the one guy throws the glow stick in the wrong direction to throw that girl off, which is a horrible idea because if you wake these zombies, like if they start feeding, they're not going to stop being hungry. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like very short-sighted. Like,
where's the buffet at? Oh, it's running in this direction over here.
Right. So very short-sighted in his regard to be that guy.
Well, he's not a smart guy. Garrett Dillahunt is the actor, and I love him.
He's great.
I love him playing John Dory on Fear the Walking Dead. So he has some zombie street cred.
Right.
Not nearly as smart as his character John on Fear the Walking Dead. His character Martin is the bastard. He's he's the guy. Nobody trusts him. Everybody dislikes him, and he ends up being the real villain of the movie.
Yes.
Essentially, the zombies are almost secondary in the end. A lot of them might have gotten away with it if it weren't for him.
If it hadn't been for him and his self-serving motives, which don't 100% make sense. Like, if wanted a zombie head, you didn't need to pull this full heist situation to get that. Like, he could have had 5 guys and the coyote come in for the zombie heist. You don't need. And I'm pretty sure they would have gladly, if the U.S. government was going to pay them to make more zombies. Also, the U.S. government has what's called a military. and/or paid mercenaries. Like, isn't that what the tax dollars go to? Like, I'm pretty sure you could have got yourself, I don't know, a Blackbriar agent or something to go in there. You didn't have to call Dave Bautista from.
You didn't have to call him Batista at all.
Right, from his days as a fry cook to go in there and tell him he's stealing money, but really you're stealing a zombie head. They could have done that in 10 minutes. Particularly when that's the character they meet at the very front of the gate. Like, he could have just went ahead, got her head, and then gotten the heck out of there if that was his mission. But they had to go through all this other rigmarole.
And let's face it, he gets the head, he traps everybody down into like the basement of this place by the vault. And he's like, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to kill that chopper pilot and I'm going to fly
myself out. Here. Yeah.
He comes out on the ground floor. He doesn't go up. He comes out on the ground floor when he notices that he doesn't have the queen's head anymore. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, he couldn't have gotten lost. He was already
just locked them in there. Yeah.
Yeah. He had to know which way was up and which way was down.
Right.
What? Why did he go up? But we did get that. One of the most awesome sequences in the movie was Zombie Tiger. We got to talk about Valentine, the Zombie Tiger.
Yes, Zombie Tiger. Although I do have issue with the Zombie Tiger death took like 4 minutes of screen time. Like, I was like, we could have done without maybe the full murder of Martin. Like,
I feel like done about half the amount of time.
Right.
I felt like this whole
Definitely
movie
overkill.
been done in half the amount of time. It was. I mean, it's a zombie themed heist film. It doesn't need to be 2 hours and 38 minutes.
No. Particularly when one of the things they did well was that opening sequence where you meet all the characters and they kind of give you a sense of their backstory. And that was so damn efficient. Like as the opening credits are playing and you kind of see the characters escaping Las Vegas, he was so efficient in that. Like he essentially told a story in that opening sequence and then proceeds to slow the rest of the story down as slow and as blurry as possible.
To reintroduce all these characters again and take another 30 minutes.
Right.
To do that. Like you've done pretty much introduced everybody. You could have made that sequence 5 minutes long. Like, but that's my problem with Snyder. He needs somebody to reel him in as what we call in the business an editor. Yes.
To not be his own auteur. But there's so many people that just love his vision that they're like, absolutely, let him do what he wants. And if we go back to the discussion of Justice League, there's something to be said for Zack Snyder getting a lot of what he wants, but definitely not everything. He always goes a little too far when given everything he wants.
When given the reins, he's like a kid in a candy store. He's gonna come up with his pockets packed. Right.
And you're like, hey man, you could have left some of that on the table. And he's like, nope, it's all got to come. And once again, it's fun. There's a lot of fun stuff happening, but it also feels a lot like it's in many ways the candy store metaphor. Like I've eaten way too much candy by the end of this, and I'm a little sick by the end of this. And the zombie tiger scene where Garrett Dillahunt gets treated like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. You're like, oh, okay, so you're just gonna keep murdering this guy. And there's a part of me that's like, after all the bad he's done, once again, there's a moral imperative. I think he does deserve to die. But also, do we need to see him die like this? Like now I feel bad for wanting him to die because this seems a tragic way to go in a zombie movie.
Yeah. I like the aesthetic of it the tiger was this like a big kitty toying with a mouse.
Yes.
I did like that kind of the way it kind of batted him around a little bit. I'm like, I've seen my cats bat around spiders and shit like that. I'm like, that's exactly what a big cat would do. Yeah. A little long-winded.
Yes, definitely long-winded. It was way too much time in the film. That was already at a point where we're now in the downslope in the movie. So it slowed it down so we could watch him be brutally murdered. And then went back to the high octane stuff. I felt like there was a lot of cynical manipulation in the movie. Once again, where Zack Snyder and I are two different people. It's like, all these characters are going to die because of what the movie is. It's a heist movie, so they're going to get double crossed. It's a zombie movie, so the zombies are going to get more people than they're going to save. But also it's like, man, Zack Snyder's pulling a lot of strings here. Dave Bautista as a dad who, he's got a estranged relationship with his daughter. He's got to repair. The fact that his one coworker, what was his girl's name? That girl's name, not Kate.
Cruz.
Yeah, the fact that she expresses feelings for him at the very end, which right before she gets her head snapped.
I did like the head snap. I thought the head snap was
once again innovative, magical, but you're manipulating me.
Yeah. Well, like they just had that scene previous to that where she's like,
confessing her love. Yeah. Although up until then, she's expressed, no, it's just loyalty and business. And then suddenly, you know what? I think I've always been in love with you. And murdered.
Yeah, oh, thank you for, it's like, I'm going to help you find your daughter. Oh, well, thank you. Snap.
Yeah. And it's like, you did that just so that would feel bad, but it didn't feel bad. It just felt manipulative.
Yeah. What the hell did you have to go on and do that?
Yeah, and there were definitely a lot of scenes where people were getting shot and things where he turned up the gore factor. There was a B movie quality to some of the gore factor. Like there was definitely more blood and guts happening.
Very over the top. It's a lot of CGI gore. I don't mind CGI gore from time to time,
but it was overdone.
I'm a practical effects guy. Use practical effects and enhance it with CGI. Mm-hmm. Don't go full blown CGI. That's just me. And some people love that CGI gore, but I'm not one of them.
Yeah, no, it was definitely. I said a B movie on steroids or a grindhouse film gone summer blockbuster. Like It was.
I like that second analogy, summer blockbuster grindhouse style.
Because it was in many ways. It was as over the top as it could be in some sections. Somebody didn't just get shot in the head; their head blew up.
Yeah. Oh, like with Zeus at the end, that close.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like the close slow mo.
The head turns into a banana split. Like what?
Right. What kind of gun does that? With blue and red in it, right? So we didn't talk about that, but some zombies have blue come out their head when they get shot in the head. Some of them are just blood when they come out when they get shot. We don't know why that is. There's a callback to it when the zombie baby is shown.
I was about to bring that up. I was going to bring that up. I'm like, we got to touch on zombie baby.
We have to touch on zombie baby.
What is? If I ever meet Zach Snyder, I'm going to have to ask what his fixation is on zombie babies, because he had a zombie baby in Dawn of the Dead.
Yep.
And I didn't get the zombie baby being blue and this, and how were they procreating?
How did they copulate? Yes.
I don't want to think about zombie boning. I don't want to think about
Nobody wants to think about zombie boning. It doesn't make sense.
No.
How do zombies get erections? Do you have questions? More questions than answers in a Zack Snyder film. More questions than answers.
Yes, sir.
Are they always erect? They're pretty stiff. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a byproduct of rigor mortis. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know that I want to know.
You don't want to know. It raises some real implications.
Actually, I do want to know, to be honest.
Yeah. I definitely felt like there were many moments where Zack Snyder punched the air and like, this is going to be awesome. So there were definitely moments where he yelled cut and he was super excited about what he just saw. Because like I said, his level of joy and the fun he's having is pretty much throughout the film. There's a lot of moments where he's like, this is awesome. I'm shooting the most awesome thing I've ever shot. And you got a guy, a physical specimen such as Dave Bautista running around, Omari Hardwick. There are also some really buff guys calling back to, once again, Predator, where you throw a bunch of buff guys in the jungle and watch them get creamed by this monster.
Yeah, a bunch of buff guys with machine guns and no sleeves.
Right. And a chainsaw and a buzzsaw that he never uses on zombies. He's got that really awesome saw, and they use it to cut through a wall at some point, but never to cut through a wall of zombies, which
the only time you see it is in that quick sequence during the opening credits.
Right.
You see him use it a couple of times, but I loved of him being almost like the old gunslinger Van's character. Or Omari Hardwick's character, Van.
Yeah.
But when he's digging up the drum.
Oh, yeah. He's digging up his
gear.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's like the gunslinger that's just like, I'm pulling out my 6 shooters and dusting them. I did kind of like that. I thought
right. I did think that was cool. The idea that he could kind of come back to the game and that, he was this, he was working in an old folks home.
Yeah, and I love that angle of his character,
right,
in physical therapy, and I like the fact that they had Dave Bautista as a short order cook. That's what I do for a living when I'm not making films and podcasts, and that's how.
So you felt seen? Did you feel seen, Cameron?
And not really, because nobody like Bautista works in as a short order cook.
Is there even room back there for a guy with his muscles? I would think that it's not a space built for guys of his stature.
No, it is not. I've worked around guys that were larger in stature in a kitchen, and it doesn't really work. I'm a pretty big fella, and sometimes it doesn't work for me. But like Bautista would just be hitting his head off his shit. Right.
Who's secretly like a murder person who's really good at murdering zombies somehow. And it's going to go on this mission, the last mission for all the money. I did appreciate that when they were recruiting, they were offering people different amounts of money. They offered Tig Notaro $2 million. It was like, hey, you want $2 million? Then they got the YouTuber. They're like, you want $500,000?
Yeah. And then when they get the guy that's in charge of the quarantine area, they're like, you want 20 grand?
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, I'll do anything for 20 grand. It's just like just knowing people and knowing their price, I guess.
Right.
I love Tig's reaction to it. She's like, I don't even want to know. I don't want to. They even asked her, you don't want to know the details. She's like, I'm going to assume it has to deal with the helicopter.
The helicopter guy.
Like, I hate my life. $2 million would make a drastic improvement. I'm in.
Right.
I loved her character. She was one of my favorite characters in the movie.
She was, and she was a late addition to the movie. That part was supposed to be played by another actor who got himself into some trouble and may have gotten himself a little canceled due to some allegations. And
probably rightly so, I would say.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But they had to spend about another, I think I read that it was between rumored $15 million, 12 to 15 million to reshoot all her scenes. Yes. And she never met any of the other actors. She was never on set with anybody. She was
always in a green screen. Yes. And they just dropped her into the film.
I think that's one of the things that is a definite plus about this movie. That's an achievement. There's a few times you can tell, but like you can tell they literally shot her by herself just to make it an ease of movement. Yeah. But like lots of times they put her right into the mix with stuff, and I'm looking for the splice. I'm looking for the string, the tape holding everything together, and I'm like, I'm damned if I can see it.
Right. No, it looked pretty seamless with today's technology. I think they did a really good job there. And I was definitely impressed by it, because every scene she was in, knowing she hadn't been in the film, was like, well, now I'm looking for the edges. Like, where's the blur along the sides, or the inconsistency of the lighting, or the tint of the green screen off her skin, like something like that. But they put a lot of effort into making her look like she belonged in that film. Yes. And I was definitely impressed by what they did. And I'm a little worried in that same way that when Hollywood gets a thing like this, then they go a little crazy with it. Like, now are we just going to get movies where some random actor never had to show up to set and they just spend an extra $10 million to drop them into the film, either as an edit, or like how much are they going to use this to tinker from now on becomes the question.
Things like that, and like totally replacing actors, when they license Peter Cushing's image for Rogue One, right? And putting him in it. I was excited, and I thought it worked out well, because I am a huge Peter Cushing fan. Being a Hammer horror guy, Yeah. But I was just like, I just, I can't help but think like what they would think about, like what would he have to say on the subject, if he could speak about it. I just
right. And what does that mean for film when you're doing that? When you're taking actors who have passed and now dropping them into films because you want them in a movie. And where does that stop? Like, at what point are we not becoming full on macabre and just, nobody ever dies? Film is already this weird medium where you could live on forever. Now, what if the suits with the money say, you know what, we can, I know how you feel about Ben Affleck Batman, but what if they're like 20 years after he's gone, they're like, how do we make that actual movie we talked about making? Let's just throw some money at a computer. And now we'll have a full Ben Affleck versus Deathstroke, the movie.
Oh gosh, I hope not. I hope not. But if they do it, I'll still watch it. Even though I'm not looking forward to it.
Right. We're about time for a commercial, so I'm going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Mr. Cameron Scott and more of the Hallspace Podcast. See you real soon. So let me tell you about Anchor Podcast. It's the podcasting service that I use. Anchor.fm is the easiest way to make a podcast, and there are many different reasons why, but foremost is it's free. So you don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. If you have a phone or a computer and a microphone, you can record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. So that's one major benefit, as well as the fact that they'll distribute your podcast to several different podcasting sites for you. Not only can your podcast be found on Anchor, it can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast as well. So you don't have to worry about going to all those different sites and setting yourself up. They'll do it for you. You can also make some money on your podcast. Say you have a podcast that only 5 people listen to on a regular basis. They don't limit you on how many subscribers you have to have in order to be able to make a little bit of change for your podcast to keep yourself going. So pretty much everything you need to start a podcast can be found at Anchor.fm. So go download the app either in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, or go to Anchor.fm to get started. And I guarantee you, it'll make things so much easier for you, like it has for me.
Love, relationships, the church, the world as we see it today, and many more thought-provoking conversations. This season of Speak Kaya, She's Come Undone Talk Sessions. Coming to your ears soon. Keep watching.
And welcome back to the Hallspace Podcast. I'm your host, Ritch Hall, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Cameron Scott. Say hello to the people, Cameron. Oh no, he's turned. He's turned.
Excuse me. Sorry. I mean, hello.
Hey there. How's it going?
Now you know I do horror movies and not comedy.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to have to call Patty and tell her to shoot you in the head.
Make sure it's twice. We
double tap.
Believe in the double tap. Yeah.
Firmly believe in the double tap.
This house.
One of the things I appreciated about Zombieland, the film, was the discussion of how to kill zombies. Among my favorite zombie movies, Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead. Honestly, one of my all-time favorite.
Shaun of the Dead is probably my favorite zombie movie in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah. It's an amazing film. I mean, Edgar Wright, how often does he really do anything wrong? But yeah, it's an amazing zombie movie that really just a really good story, be it zombies or not, just a really good, concise tale. So
now I gotta ask you though, do you have a favorite zombie movie, or is it Shaun of the Dead?
It's pretty much Shaun of the Dead. It's pretty much Shaun of the Dead. I've watched a lot of zombie movies over my time. I was into Walking Dead, like seasons 1 through I think 4. When did Negan show up? When Glenn bought it, I think that was when I got out of Walking Dead.
I think it was the end of season 6.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
So I did watch till season 6. I watched until Glenn died, and then I was done. I was like, I can't do this. It's too nihilistic. I can't just be stuck in this sad place all the time watching these people.
Negan is my favorite character. I actually have a prop replica sitting right above my head, or about right here, of Lucille.
Nice. Nothing against it. I just realized we're just going to keep having the show go on for years and years of people getting ahead a little bit, maybe not even caring about the zombies anymore, but the damn humans are going to keep being horrible to them. And I just can't show up for this week after week. As I said, I'm not good with nihilism. I like some hope in my fiction media, in my media. If it's too nihilistic, I lose it. And so I kind of left Walking Dead behind, and I've never actually watched a single episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I feel like I intended to, and just never gave it a chance.
Yeah, I watched the first season, and I didn't like it, so I bowed out until this past year. And we got Hulu, and I'm like, I'm going to revisit it. I'm going to try season 2 and give it a shot. And about midway through season 2, it grabbed me. So
I heard that I think they changed showrunners for season 2, and that.
Yeah. It was a lot better, but again, probably going to be not your taste. It's the same as Walking Dead. You get a little bit of hope, you get introduced to people that you like, and then they get torn away from it.
Right. And they're brutally murdered by either the zombies or the damn humans. So
yeah, the damn humans.
They are the Walking Dead.
Yes.
So back to Army of the Dead by Zach Snyder, available on Netflix. It is a good premise. It's a very pulpy story, as we said. It's very grindhouse, it's a premise that you couldn't resist. A heist movie with zombies, and it's fun from start to finish. It's very overindulgent, and I did enjoy myself, but I do have problems with it. And one of it is Zack Snyder just throwing stuff into the movie that we'll notice but doesn't explain. You talked earlier about the mud zombies. The robot zombies is a thing. Like I noticed as I'm watching it the first time, like, wait, why did that zombie have a metal face? Like, why did that zombie go Terminator when he shot it in the face? Is the movie going to explain that? Like, are there like fake zombies? Is somebody building zombies? What's going on here?
Somebody making cybernetic kind of zombies?
Right. Reconstructing zombies? The movie's like, there's no time to explain that. Let's keep moving on.
Yeah, we're going to show you, but we're going to tell you about a bunch of cool shit, but we're not really going to show you. And
right.
We're going to, show it to you, but not tell you anything.
Right. When it opens and they're out there and they're like, oh yeah, when it rains, you don't want to see these zombies when it rains. My head was like, we're going to see these zombies when it rains, right? But they're going to be trying to escape in the rain and they're going to be like, we're almost at the gate. And then those zombies start waking up and you're like, oh no, wall of mud zombies. It's right there in the script. Just go ahead and give us what we want.
Right. But no, they don't.
They don't.
Like the time loop theory when
yes, the time loop theory. Let's do it.
When Van starts talking about it now, when he's like, they could be us, they could be caught in this infinite time loop. And if you actually look, a couple of they're
wearing the accessories of the people in the movie. Yes,
I noticed an armband that belonged to Cruz. I noticed the necklace that belonged to which character.
Scott was wearing a necklace. He was wearing a neckerchief.
Yes, I mean, then they had, I think the Lily, the coyote, had the key around her neck. Like I noticed that right then and there, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm down for that. I'm like, I turned to Patty, and I'm like, this is going to be off the hook, man. Right. Be great. We're going to they're going to run into alternative selves. It's going to have some sci-fi thrown in there. Yes.
Right.
No.
They set you up and then let you down.
Yeah, it's like dangling a donut in front of you. I'm like, oh no, here, have a carrot. Like
right. And I really want a donut. Like I don't want to eat a carrot. They definitely did that in that scene and in a few others where you're like, is something even cooler going to happen? No. Okay, I mean this is still kind of cool, but you gave me the promise of something awesome. Because when he's saying it, as Omari Hardwick's character Vanderhoof is saying that speech, I'm like, okay, so he's a trippy guy who's very philosophical, and you're kind of learning this aspect of him at that point in the movie. Like you've learned a little bit about him and a little bit about how different and weird he is, but then it's like now he's gone full meta in a way that is the movie gonna bend in that way? Nope, the movie doesn't have time or space for that.
Nope. Because we got to rip off like Aliens at least 3 more times by the end of this movie.
Right. Because at that point they had not ripped off Aliens enough. They still had a few more homages to put into the film.
Yeah, they still had to make 3 more Millennium Falcon references.
Right.
Did you catch those when like Tig Notaro calls the chopper a hunk of junk, and then when it misfires and she's working on it, it makes that sound.
Yes, it does. I noticed that. I did notice that. And then it goes from completely busted to it can fly them out of there and perform all these maneuvers. And she just kind of did that with no tools.
No parts, no replacement parts for a chopper that was on fire.
It's seen better days. It's seen better days. Yes. And at some point, like when Martin delivers that one girl, the Latino girl, he tricks her into getting killed by a bunch of zombies. She's got gas on her back. And I'm thinking, do we need all this gas to get out of here? Like, isn't the gas important? Now I did realize in the movie, they needed some of the gas for the generator, some of the gas for the helicopter. But I felt like they were a little too lackadaisical with this gas that they obviously need to escape. Right. I just thinking maybe we need to conserve our resources to some degree. And then they're not flying directly out. They fly to another location because of something else another character has gotten themselves into. And then they fly out while also a nuclear bomb is going off.
And I didn't understand the idea. I don't understand military terms and whatnot, but it was restricted airspace. You can't fly in, but you can fly out.
Right.
I'm not aware that that's how restricted airspace works. I thought restricted airspace was just
not typically,
period.
But at that point, it's being blown up, so nobody's going to stop you from flying out if they're blowing it up with a nuclear missile because the president just thinks it would be cool. He literally says it'll be cool to blow it up.
Right, and we're gonna move it up a day like that. That makes everything like really real. Like, okay, we have like now hour and a half, 2 hours before everything's gonna blow up instead of 32 hours like we thought we had.
Right. Which, okay, so from a story standpoint, there's a part of me that's like, okay, ticking clock always makes for better drama. So dropping a nuclear missile on the location you're standing in is definitely a dramatic thing. It's a dramatic problem to solve. But it also feels absurd, but it's also a zombie movie, so I shouldn't be reading too deep into it. But When they ratcheted it up, like, oh no, he's going to drop the missile today. We've got less than an hour to get out of here. I was like, oh, come on, movie. You're trying to manipulate me. You're doing the thing. I know what you're doing. Like,
right. You're trying to make my knuckles turn white as I grip my seat, and I'm just like,
Right. But I mean, I assume that at least one person's making it out alive, right? And who's it going to be? Unfortunately, it's the daughter, who I don't like. But I'm
glad you said that, because I don't like her.
She wasn't likable.
By her character.
She was not likable as a character. She's the least likable character in some ways, in part because, like I said, she's wearing a t-shirt and she's demanding to go in there and fight zombies, although she showed absolutely no acumen up until this moment at the zombie fighting. And literally nothing about her says we're supposed to like her, except for she cares about the children, which, once again, shallow manipulation.
Yes.
As shallow as the depths of field in this movie. Why was the depth of field so shallow in this movie? Why is it so blurry?
Sometimes I liked it. Sometimes I liked how the depth of field would change and you would get something out of focus. But there was a couple of times, like when they were getting off the bus, there was a couple of shots that were straight up just completely out of focus the entire time. Nothing was racking focus to something in the foreground, or background. It was just out of focus. It's like, I know, like I made a note here, the lenses, they were called Canon Dream lenses, and they were all from the 1960s. They had to make the red cameras that they used in the movie with special adapters to use these lenses. And, good for Snyder for wanting to do something artistic like that.
He got them off eBay.
Times.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
He got the lenses off eBay and just went
eBay
crazy with it.
$80 million movie, and they're supplying some of their
Right. Which in many ways, this is like Zach Snyder. Once again, he's making the film he wants to make with the lenses he wants to make. Nobody wants to do it, so he'll be his own DP. Like, nobody's going to get in the way of his vision. But also, my guy, like, you want to just go ahead and follow the rules a little bit. There's a benefit to the rules, is what I'm saying.
There's also other movies, save a little bit of that for another movie. Like, you need to cram all that stuff into a 2 hour and 40 minute, almost 40 minute zombie movie. Like, I know they're planning a sequel and a prequel series. Save some of them. Like,
yes. Well, that's one of the things that I've been hearing, is that a lot of that lore he's building in is for the benefit of those prequels, sequels, and I think a cartoon's coming out. I don't know. It's going to be a lot. He's going to try to give Netflix all the zombie content they could ever want. And if you're going to have a dude pull it off, I mean, Zack Snyder makes you enough money to do so. So, I get it. I get why you throw money at that guy.
They could throw money at worse people, I guess. But they could throw money at somebody else. They could, throw 1% of that money at me, and I'd make him a good movie. I would.
Nice. You're right.
Once again, I said, if you give me just their cappuccino budget, I can make you a damn good film.
Right. If it all it would take is just a little bit of change, right?
Yeah, a little bit. That makes or breaks a film, to be honest.
Right.
Raising money, the thing I hate about filmmaking most of all.
Yes. But Zack Snyder, you get that high up, you blow some stuff up, and they're like, absolutely, we'll give you all the money.
Right. Now, I got to ask, I got a question for you myself, and this was the number one question. It's a two-parter. Favorite character and least favorite character.
That is a hard one. I would go with Vanderhoe. I felt like he was my favorite. Is it Dieter? Dieter wasn't my least favorite. I grew to like Dieter. At first I was like, I'm not getting this guy. He's trying to be weird too much. Yeah, I would still say the daughter.
I don't like her, but my least favorite is Cummings.
Bert Cummings, yes. Well, see, I knew he was supposed to be like a straight up asshole. So I'm like, okay, they're doing, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't try to make me like him at all. I wanted him to die. And as soon as he gets shot in the leg in the very beginning, I'm like, oh, so we get to watch him die. Good, let's get this out the way. and then like, oh, he's going to become a zombie that the daughter has to fight because they have history. And I'm like, I don't care. The daughter was actually, because she's supposed to be a more likable character, and she's the least likable character, and she's the one person who survives. And the reason everybody else dies because you decide to do the dumb thing. So...
Yeah, I think my favorite character, though, is it's a toss-up. Peter's Dick Notaro's character.
Yes,
and
well, yeah.
And Vanderoe. I like him. He gets he's a likable character. He is. And he gets all philosophical a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like Garrett Dillahunt. Now, not like as a person, but like as an actor, I love Zach, and he plays it well. But
he does. He's having a good time. I would say about Vanderhoe.
Cummings can go to hell. Cummings can just go to hell. He's the straight up VP of bad guy characters.
Yeah, and I give him the benefit of he's supposed to be a bad guy. With him and Garrett Dillahunt, they're supposed to be the bad guys, so I'm not supposed to like them, and so I give them the benefit of that characterization. But when you have a character like the daughter, like Kate, I'm like, you're supposed to be more likable than you are, and you've done few likable things. And one of the reasons I think I like Vanderhoe is because he seems to adopt Dieter, right? Like this character who is not going to make it if he doesn't have a guy like me next to him. I'm going to make sure he makes it out as best I can. And then Dieter saves Vanderhoe, which is like, okay, that pays off.
Like, I love the fact that at the end, or like right before when everything is kind of going to hell in a handbasket, they both look at each other and it's like, the money? Like, yeah, the money. Like they had a short, by that point they had a shorthand between them. Like, yeah, we're going to go for the money. And they kind of, it was the kind of neat, like how he took him under his wing. I like that.
Yeah. And so in many ways, that's a characterization that makes you like this guy. Like, oh, he looks out for a fellow man, and then tragically has to lose him, and somehow survives a nuclear explosion because he's underground in a vault that may have been locked. How did he get out? I don't know. Let's not ask questions. He got
closed up in the vault. The first thing I thought, like, no, don't do that. Like, he's just going to starve to death in there.
or suffocate. Either or.
Or suffocate, one or the other. And how did he get out? Did the door get blown, somehow off the hinges or something? They don't really ever explain like how he survived the nuclear fallout. Even.
Yeah, there's no fallout. Yeah, no, apparently not. And somehow he got bit. We never saw it, but somehow he got bit. And there's a possibility that he'll be the prime zombie going forward. And I'll gladly watch a zombie movie with Omari Hardwick as the prime zombie. That would be absolutely fun.
Oh yeah, him as the alpha, the true alpha. Hell yeah.
Heck yeah, whatever. I'll watch that's the thing about this. I'll watch the sequel to this. That's been one of the benefits of the quarantine and one of the downsides. There are many of these movies that if I had been in a theater, I would have stood up at the end and been like, what the heck? But this is one of those films where I was like at the end, like, I mean, I wasted a Saturday afternoon. It was a pretty good movie. I would have, I'm not mad about it on Netflix.
The way I describe it is the difference between a good movie and a great movie. Army of the Dead was just a good movie. It was not a great, it was a good time. It wasn't a great movie.
Yeah.
Good popcorn flick. It was like you said, it was a matter of overindulgence. I call this a popcorn flick.
Yeah.
This is like getting a bucket of popcorn, but getting one of those trifectas where it's got the caramel corn and the regular popcorn and the cheese. And by the time you're done, you just feel sick because you've eaten so much of it.
Right.
That's too much.
You also got a stomach full of popcorn and fizzy soda, and you're like, oh, that was good at the time I was shoving it in my face, but what did I do to myself? And the older I get, the less I can take those risks. I'm really past the point where I can do that more than I can.
Right. It's
very indulgent.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. And once again, I felt like there was a cynicism to the entire proceeding. Tig Notaro, I mean, ultimately didn't do anything worth dying for, and yet she doesn't make it. The mother that she spent so much time trying to save doesn't make it. And I'm like, you just spent all this time trying to save this lady for her kids, and then, she dies in a massive helicopter crash because we had to escape a nuclear bomb.
Right, and you don't even see how she goes down. The helicopter just crashes and she's just gone.
Yep.
No concern. It's just like, okay, I mean, I realize at that point, Scott, Batista's character is bitten, so he's getting ready to turn. So, I mean, they got to deal with the situation at hand. But, like, she climbs out of that wreckage and is just like, what's going on? What happened to, what was her name? Jita, I think it was. Never another mention of her again.
Never another mention whatsoever. Yeah, just that whole thing that the narrative hinged on for the last 15 minutes is now just no longer off the table. Don't even worry about it. I did appreciate the symmetry. So the writer in me, once again, saw this moment of symmetry. She's angry for years or however long it was that Dave Bautista killed her mother. And then she herself watches her dad turn into a zombie and has to pull the trigger on him. And I'm like, I will give you the benefit of that, Snyder. That's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
that you gave.
That was
me.
a nice moment.
Right.
I mean, it was a sad moment, but it was nice. Being a writer myself, I totally.
Yeah. It's like you once again, Zack Snyder punched the air when he wrote that down. So it's like they're the last two off the chopper, and he's been bit by the alpha zombie, and she's got a choice to make, and now she has to understand why her dad did that.
Yeah, and good thing she did, because like, who would stop a alpha zombie version, Batista, filled with zombie rage? Who's going to stop him? Nothing short of another, nothing short of a rocket launcher is going to stop that.
Right, or another nuclear explosion. We'll just have to send.
More likely.
Yeah, because there was no other way to. But no, I definitely appreciated that moment as a writer. Like, okay, there's a symmetry there, and you should be proud of yourself, Zack Snyder. You landed the ship.
Stuck the landing.
Right. Overall, like I said, good movie, not great movie, entertaining for sure. There's a 15-year-old version of me that would totally just be like, I had an awesome time and I have no questions, no notes. 40-year-old me who's watched a lot of other films is like, can you do that? And what were the robot zombies about? Like, answer my questions. Right.
Yeah, and what about the mud zombies? Like, why are we planting that idea, or the time loop theory? Why was there even a conversation about that if there's not going to be any kind of payoff? It's just like,
what were the aliens about?
Yeah,
why would you transport that zombie in the first place and just put him on a road and hope that nothing went wrong? And he's only in one cage? You don't have multiple cages for a zombie like that? Like, you'd make that guy break through 3 different cages. I don't know who was thinking about the cage building, but
you'd have him sealed up like Magneto, like the X-Men. You have him in a cage within a cage within a glass
cage, box. Right? Because I don't want him getting out ever, because he turns everybody else into zombies. Yeah. So, and he moves really fast, and he's bulletproof technically, unless you shoot him in the head, which they don't know to do until they do.
Right. It's just like, just take off his head. It'll be much easier than trying to shoot for the helmet that you can see that he's clearly wearing.
Right.
I love how everybody, especially even Kate, the Kate character, is such a dead shot. Nobody ever misses.
Everybody's great. They're great.
They did not go to stormtrooper school.
No, they did not. And they're all on it every shot. Just headshot. Which, it's a zombie movie, and there were some beautiful headshots in this movie. Definitely. I read that the actors went to zombie school. There's a zombie school now where you can learn how to be a zombie hunter. So, they got it honest.
I had a note here. There was over 1,100 visual effects sequences.
Wow.
In this movie, 1,136 to be exact. That's how many visually manipulated sequences there was in this movie. It's astounding.
Yeah, no, movies are pretty much made in computers these days. Like, they're shooting just to have people in the production, but so much of the movies are digital masterworks. They're pretty much all movies are animated movies now. That's the way to think about it.
Yep, and you look at a movie from the 80s versus a movie from 2020, a 40-year time difference, and it is glaring.
Oh yeah, absolutely. James Gunn had written the previous Dawn of the Dead film, but then did not write Army of the Dead because he was working on Suicide Squad. And I definitely believe that Zack Snyder needs a better writer. He shouldn't trust himself as much as he does as a writer.
He should have waited on James Gunn.
Yes, because James Gunn is a masterful writer. And I feel like Dawn of the Dead definitely had more heart than this movie does. This movie's action figures smashing into each other a lot more than the previous films, particularly Dawn of the Dead.
And this movie was in one hell of a long spout of development hell.
Mm-hmm.
It was
10 years.
Written written in 2009, and then almost started filming in 2011, and then it jumped from Zack Snyder, went to another director whose name I did not write down or didn't get.
Yeah.
But then it went back to Snyder, and I think it's funny that James Gunn turned this down to write Suicide Squad, and then Dave Bautista turned on a role in Suicide Squad to be in this. Nice.
That's a good symmetry right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I hear that Dave Bautista is next Guardians of the Galaxy is his last movie as Drax. We'll miss him, definitely.
Oh, yeah, I read that. That's sad. I love the Guardians movies.
No, they're great movies.
I know there's only 2 of them, but
yeah,
that's going to be a sad day. It's going. Rocket the raccoon is my spirit animal, and I'm not.
I could see that. I could see that. You're very much a Rocket Raccoon kind of guy.
I've often said I want to get a tattoo of Rocket the raccoon wearing Negan's leather jacket and holding Lucille. This is going to be the weirdest mashup tattoo.
That would work, though. That would work. Nothing about that is wrong. It definitely works. But what if I want it myself, sir?
Well, you can have one. We can have samesies tattoos.
Yeah. We'll see about it. I feel like
see what our wives think of that idea. Huh?
Right. They'd have issues. So yeah, definitely good film. We're getting around the bend on the time here. It's been great to talk about it with you. Final thoughts on Army of the Dead.
Final thoughts. Like I said, liked it, didn't love it. Mm-hmm. Good movie, not a great movie. It could have benefited a lot from just editing down. I think if you would have taken a good 30-35 minutes and just had a flat 2-hour running time, would have been much better. Had been a little tighter, and if they could have, I will come up. I wrote down a scale on a scale from 1 to 10. That's how I do on my show. I give it a 7.
Okay.
I give it a 7. 6.5 to 7, roundabouts that area.
I'd probably give it a 6 if I were using that scale.
But I would come up on it probably a point, maybe even a 1.5 if the sequels/prequels expand upon the lore. If they really do, and if they're not just planting bullshit ideas. If they're actually building something bigger and they're building a universe and some lore, I will amend my rating and come up a little bit on it. But Zach Snyder's he's a good filmmaker, but like again, just not some people are skewering me for this, but I will say he's just not a great filmmaker. He needs to be reeled in and reined in just a tad. Somebody needs to put the brakes on at some point. Right.
There's a benefit to, and not necessarily like complete studio intervention, but like having a good writer who can capture all these elements and create characters that feel like 360 degrees complete and complex, or that I care about a little more, so that their deaths either bring me, a bit of glee and joy, and not just sort of empty. Like somebody made a note that it sort of turns into a first-person shooter for the last half hour because it's just mindlessly shooting at zombies and running in directions. And I definitely feel like that's some of the flaws in Zack Snyder, that it's bombastic, it's loud, it's visually interesting. He's painting a tableau, but ultimately a little heartless, unfortunately. So while I enjoyed the film, and like I said, there's a 15-year-old version of me that was like, I'd watch this multiple times. The 40-year-old me is like, I might forget about this movie in a month or two. And then be like, oh, that's right, Army of the Dead. That was a thing that happened when we didn't have anything to watch in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I may watch it again. I always believe in giving movies a second chance, especially if sequels come out and anything that expands the lore. I will definitely revisit it again, but I don't need to revisit it anytime soon. Right. It's like eating that big bucket of popcorn. And like I have no taste for popcorn at any time in the near future.
Yes. But if I'm sitting in a movie again, I'll watch it. You know what I mean? Like, so on a good Saturday afternoon, it's definitely probably one of those movies that if it popped up on TV, that would I sit down and watch to the end? Probably. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this. So let me see that tiger scene again. Oh, that's right. It still goes on too long.
You're checking or watching this, like I could go pop some popcorn and brew some coffee in the time that this tiger took to kill the marten. Right.
So fun movie, but ultimately, some Zack Snyder makes some particular decisions that I'll definitely say I disagree with. Well, it has been a blast doing this with you, Cameron. I'll have to have you on again next time.
Oh, yes, sir. Anytime.
Horror movie comes out, or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We should totally meet up, and you can chat with the boys. We can talk about it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, anytime. I've had fun doing this.
Yeah,
I love geeking out, talking about good movies, bad movies, in between movies.
Right. Also a thing that I love to do. So with that, we're going to wrap it up with the Hallspace Podcast. You know what the music means. Our time is up. I say good day, sir.
Yep, good day. Good talking to you. It's been a long time. Let's not let it be so long next time, huh?
Right. The Hallspace Podcast is brought to you by Hall Productions, LLC. Show notes and credits can be found at our webpage, thehallspacepodcast.wordpress.com. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be sent to us at thehallspacepodcast@gmail.com. The show is written by Daggerpin Davis. Music is curated by DJ Cabal. The show is produced by Chuck Jones and recorded at Slash and Trash Studios. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you all have a good week. House Hall. We rise brilliantly.